a world of shadows. Jamal lived in a house filled with shadows, not the kind that danced at sunset. His shadows were angry whispers and slammed doors. Mama cried a lot. Daddy yelled. Jamal felt small, like a dust bunny lost in a corner. He spent his days trying to disappear. He'd squeeze between the sofa and the wall. He'd pretend he was a shadow himself, melting into the faded floral patterns. Sometimes he wished he could actually vanish. Dinner time was the worst. The clanging of forks, the sharp words thrown like knives. Jamal would push his food around his plate. He lost his appetite a long time ago. He learned to be quiet, to be invisible. His silence was the only way to keep the shadows at bay. Finding solace in stories. Jamal found refuge in stories. He devoured books from the library. He loved tales of brave knights and magical lands. In these stories, good always triumphed. He imagined himself as the hero, slaying dragons and rescuing princesses. His imagination became his shield, protecting him from the harsh realities of his world. He dreamed of a different life, one filled with adventure and joy. He filled notebooks with his own stories. He wrote about talking animals and flying children. His words were his escape, a way to rewrite his own narrative. At school, he disappeared into books. He aced English class, his essays filled with vivid imagery and heartfelt emotion. His teachers praised his talent, but Jamal kept his stories hidden, a secret world he shared with no one. The growing silence. As Jamal grew older, the shadows followed him. He couldn't disappear into books forever. The real world was waiting, and it was just as harsh as he remembered. He felt increasingly invisible, not just at home, but everywhere. His classmates seemed to move in a different rhythm, their laughter a foreign language. He couldn't connect, couldn't find his place. The silence that once protected him now suffocated him. He felt empty, hollowed out by years of unspoken pain. He desperately searched for a way to fill the void, to quiet the ache in his heart. His grades started to drop. He withdrew from his teachers, his classmates, even his books. He felt like a ghost, drifting through the halls unnoticed and untethered. One day, an older boy at school offered Jamal a way out, a cigarette, a pill, a promise of oblivion. "This will make you forget," the boy whispered. Jamal, desperate for any kind of relief, took the bait. At first it worked. The drugs numbed the pain, silenced the whispers in his head. He felt a fleeting sense of belonging, a camaraderie with the other lost souls who sought solace in the haze. But the escape was an illusion. The drugs that promised freedom became his prison. He needed more, stronger doses to achieve the same temporary relief. He was caught in a vicious cycle, his life spiraling further into darkness. He started skipping school, stealing money to fuel his addiction. His once bright eyes grew dull, his skin sallow. The boy who dreamed of heroes was now lost in a nightmare of his own making. Jamal's life became a blur of cravings and blackouts. He pushed away anyone who tried to help, his teachers, his few remaining friends, even his mama. He was too far gone, he thought, too broken to be fixed. He lost himself in the darkness. He forgot the warmth of the sun, the taste of his mama's cooking, the joy of escaping into a good story. One night, huddled in a cold, abandoned building, he caught a glimpse of his reflection in a shattered window. The stranger staring back at him was a ghost of the boy he once was. In that moment of clarity, a flicker of fear ignited within him. Was this the end of his story? Was he destined to be another casualty in a world that had already swallowed him whole? Something shifted within Jamal that night. Perhaps it was the fear, or maybe a long dormant ember of hope. Whatever it was, it gave him the strength to reach out. He stumbled to a payphone and dialed the only number he remembered, the suicide hotline. The voice on the other end was kind, patient. For the first time in a long time, Jamal felt heard. He poured out his pain, his shame, his fear, and slowly, tentatively, he began to believe that maybe, just maybe, there was a way out of the darkness. He checked into rehab. It was the hardest thing he'd ever done, facing his demons head-on. The withdrawal was agonizing, the therapy sessions grueling, but with each day he felt a glimmer of hope returning. He started writing again, this time about his struggles, his journey to find his way back to the light.